episode 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to The Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Drunk Turkey Show. I'm your host, Daniel, and alongside with me is Jaime. Big Blue is he's out there doing, I think he's participating in a skinny dipping contest, and so he might be able to jump in. It could be wet t-shirt, I'm not sure, but if not, good luck out there, buddy. Jaime, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm here in town. There's a big ass storm, so it's been fun. The light's been going in and out, so like I said earlier, like if you just see me disappear, the light went out.
So if the light goes out, Jaime might have to jump off screen. He may or not be able to come back. He's in the eye of the storm, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, but today we have, and I want to say first and foremost before we get started, thank you guys so much for all the love that you guys have shown me, my wife, and my newest daughter, little Rogan Paige. She's doing amazing. My wife's doing amazing. She rocked out. She got the baby out, and it was a C-section. It was a first one that I've ever been a part of. I have two other children that were born naturally. This is my wife's first child, so it was a little bit nerve-wracking on my side. I didn't faint. I know that was a concern. I almost did. At one point, I looked over the curtain when I shouldn't have, and I was like, "Whoa." And I went back and I looked at the pictures because I was taking some photos and stuff. And I was like, man, how did I not faint during this? And so, we had a good time, with the baby, more so me than my wife. She's recovering still, but she's a trooper, man. She's already walking around. I think she'll be getting out of the hospital tomorrow. So we look forward to bringing our little girl home. So thank you guys so much for the congratulations and the love and support that you guys have sent us. We truly, truly appreciate it. I've tried to like and heart every comment on the post there. But thank you guys. And so the show must go on. I will not be drinking tonight just in case I do got to go back to the hospital. So I'm going to be drinking water, a.k.a. vodka. I know a lot of you guys say that's what it is.
Imagine would have been dead in this room.
Dude, no shit, right? I'd be gone. But we have a special show for you guys tonight. We have some bearded men coming on to join us and talk a little bit of true crime, talk a little bit of maybe some conspiracies. We'll probably go on for about an hour, maybe an hour and 10. Because then I'm probably going to try to get back to the hospital. So without further ado, wait. I saw something. I can't find it. Oh, I got it. Congratulations. Things are going by and really fast in the chat. From Robert, I got a super chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. I can't find it. It jumped on my screen. I can't find it. I know I see it. There it is. Thank you. We appreciate it. So from the Opinionated Idiot channel, we have Brian. Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you? Hey, congratulations on the new addition to the crime family. You probably got a little sleuther there. And, I just want to congratulate you. So I'm glad everything is well. I'm glad everything is good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In fact, my wife's modding from the hospital. she don't quit, man. She don't quit. And coming in from Publicly Buzzed, we got Steve and Dan. How you guys doing there, Steve and Dan?
Good, man. How you doing, dude?
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty good. I last night I went out to the hospital and I only got like maybe 4 hours of sleep. My wife will probably tell you it's more, but
her modding right now from a hospital bed's pretty badass.
Yeah, man, she's a trooper.
I fell asleep at the hospital. Those chairs are super uncomfortable, man.
Dude, the damn chairs kept me up more than the baby crying. I'll just say that because yeah, my back hurts, man. So I had a back injury probably about 12 years ago while I was in law enforcement. It was pretty severe, and so I still go to physical therapy for it, so it tells you how severe it was. That bed did no justice. I woke up like yeah, so I might if I go back tonight, I might go buy one of those like memory foam mattresses for the twins and just throw it in there or something.
Do they have like just another hospital bed in the same room you're sleeping on?
It's like a pull-out couch.
Oh God, that's way worse.
The worst.
Yeah, it is.
And probably
Really.
cheap as hell.
It is. You know,
Really good deal.
we ended up getting the suite, whatever they want to call it, you know, the bigger room or whatnot, because you know we felt that a lot of family was going to be coming in and stuff. Big Blue actually showed up today. That was pretty cool. Got to meet.
You guys everywhere.
Yeah. Place. And
Walked in, shotgun a beer, just sat down.
yeah, he shotgun a beer the right way. Didn't drop a drop.
He butt chugged.
Hey, it works faster. That's one way to do it. That's one way to do it.
Get that bloodstream.
Yeah. You know, we told him he could have the IV, but no, he said this is more effective.
Oh, boof it.
So there's one, first and foremost, I do want to say that there was a verdict in the Lori Valley. Man, I can't pronounce her name. Vallow case.
Lori cunt.
Yeah.
She was found guilty. And whoa, thank you for your $11 super chat, Mikey S. and Cynthia. Thank you so much.
Why are they going so fast?
Dude, there's people banging in here right now, dude.
Yeah, we got 374
awesome.
of you guys in here. Let's hit that like button. Let's get this going. Mandy, he did not have a nurse outfit on. He was going to his second job. I'll let you figure what kind of outfit that was.
That's his caps.
So Larry Value, she is found guilty. I don't know the details and minutia of the case, but from what I understand, it was a pretty horrific scene and a pretty horrific crime that occurred. Justice was found, and I'm kind of I'm all for it. It's from Idaho, isn't that correct? Also,
Yeah, Boise.
You think she's going to get the death penalty? We'll start off with you, Brian.
I don't know, man.
They took it off the table, I thought.
Yeah, I think they took it off the table. That was part of the deal.
I remember that because I got real fucking pissed the day they did that. I was like, what? This is the one we need it on for. Like,
Daniel, if you look in the private chat, I grabbed an article for you if you want to pull it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I was off and on this case. And honestly, just because it is fucking rough, man, the kid stuff gets to me.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But yeah, it's a dark one.
Wow. So yeah, it says Lori Vallow, verdict: Colt mom found guilty in the murders of the two children, husband, first wife.
Then they found the remains right in the in the backyard.
They were like burnt to ashes. It was really bad. Yeah, it's brutal.
Sad
situation. Those kids didn't deserve that, man.
Nope. This is the one. This is the time that you say like these people do not deserve to be parents. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah,
we're alive.
that.
I mean, I'm pro death penalty. I don't know where you guys are standing, but this is one where it needs to be right there.
Yeah, it's one thing like you kill an adult, but when you're fucking with kids, that's it's
so dark, man.
Yeah, there's a special place in hell for her. That's for damn
absolutely, bro.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. Like this, it is heartbreaking to the details and the reasoning behind it. It seems like she just wanted to move on from her life. She found somebody else, and there was. I guess her defense or whatnot was that she thought they were possessed or zombies or something
weird
like that.
Stuff, man.
But well,
yeah, she met this Chad Daybell dude.
Yeah,
got sucked in by these books he was writing. Like, he was a religious fanatic freak. Like, basically creating his own shit in these books, and she got sucked in. Yeah. And yeah, dude, dead bodies just kept piling up around these folks.
Right? Yeah. I'd heard about
calling them zombies, and her husband, who she was still married to in the early, was ringing the alarms, even went to the police, got a divorce, something's not right here. Yeah, that one's dark, dude. Like, again, like I remember that. What you mentioned earlier, I just remember that because the day it happened, I was like, what? This is one where we need the death penalty. Like, it makes sense here, I think. And I know there's a lot, I know that's a, controversial subject. Some people are adamantly against it. And I get that also. And I'm not for it for all circumstances, but some of these are insane. Like,
yeah, there's no point of them being in jail for 30, 40 years, man.
With our tax dollars supporting that, you know what I mean? Like our tax dollars go to support those people. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they should once guilty they should throw them in a chair or whatever. But I'm saying have at least two appeals or whatever, and then after the second appeal, if it still stays the same, then they should make it a little bit faster. So, you know,
So that's a problem too, right? The speed of these, like you can go.
Yeah.
Look at Gacy, right? At like 79 to 94 or something. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right.
I don't understand like these people that kill their children. It's like if you don't want to have your children or whatever, like give them to grandparents or something. Have their grandparents raise them. You're like, I just don't understand. Like I'm gonna scrub up my whole family. It's crazy. You know, and like these things, like when husbands kill their wives and they kill their whole family, it's like just divorce and leave. Like,
yeah, there was a video today that came out with the grandpa, you know, singing on a bus with the little boy that they killed, dude. And it's, I mean, so gut wrenching. Like, and to see some of the interviews with the grandparents in this one, man, and the other family as well. But yeah, give them to family that loves them. Like,
seriously,
yeah,
I don't understand how folks like this, her and the Chad dude, going to Hawaii, you know, the cops are already on their ass, already saying produce these kids in the early days of this. How do they feel they're going to get through this? Like, I don't get that mentality, dude. If I fuck up just a tiny bit in life, it haunts me. It haunts me for days. Like,
well, because you have a conscience. That's why.
True.
Yeah, you have a soul. You care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't.
That's true.
Care.
Yeah, these people
care.
are broken, man. Like,
except for themselves. That's all that matters.
So do y'all think that the death penalty was taken out because she's a woman? Because I feel like that's kind of something that. When was the last time a woman was put to death?
That's a good question.
What was it? The monster lady.
Eileen Wuornos?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think she took out like 7 guys, I believe.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
her story pretty well.
I don't think that gender or sex or whatever you want to call it should make a difference on whether or not somebody's crimes, if they are nefarious enough and you know, egregious enough that makes no difference. I think that this person should. You're right. There's a reason why they have it, and it's for this type of cases. Thank you, True Crime Cafe with Dago, for your $2 super chat. We appreciate it. And thank you. And if you're not listening in True Crime with Dago, you need to go do that as well. He had on, and we'll get kind of into the subject here. Is he had on a person that we are all well familiar with, WSU mom Kim, and you know, I kind of want to go, you know, person to person here, and we'll start off with Jaime. You know, we had interviewed Kim. We'd had her on the show not too long ago, and we talked to her. Me and Jaime kind of are, you know, we know who she is and things of that nature. What are your feelings about Kim and Kim's story, Jaime?
I believe her on the most parts. But there is sometimes that, you know, her emotions get a little bit in the way, you know what I mean? She gets into
right
because she's a mom, you know what I mean? And has kids there at the college and whatnot. But from what we heard, right? I feel like she's doing this, like she's making her voice heard. That way, people can come forward with, you know, different evidence or, you know, their story. You know, she doesn't want people to forget about it. You know what I mean? To kind of like put it on the back burner. She wants justice like everyone else does, especially the parents of the victims.
100%. Brian, we'll start off with you next. What were your thoughts about Kim and your I wouldn't say relationship, but like you're talking with her. What was your thoughts about her?
Yeah, I've talked to Kim a few times. She's called into the show, and kind of my take on it is she's you know, been on my platform. I've kind of just sat back in the conversation to let her speak. And I just say, you tell us. I'm not here, I guess, to judge if she's credible or not credible. I kind of let my audience decide that. I have my feelings, I guess, on some of it. I'm probably more along the lines of like Jaime thinks about it. But again, you know, I've just kind of let her come on and talk, you know, use the platform to talk. If she needs to get something out, I'm all right with that. And again, I think her story is interesting. I find some things that line up, and I find some things that don't line up. But I'm not here to judge her if she's, you know, credible or not. So it's kind of
100%.
Kind of neutral on it. I'm kind of neutral on it. So.
And publicly buzzed. We'll start off with you, Steve, and then Dan. Or whoever wants to talk first. What are your thoughts about Kim? I know you guys have had her on her show, and it was a little bit controversial at first. I got brought in.
Yeah, I've never actually had Kim. I've never talked to her. Actually, I've never actually had her on my show. I've only done reaction videos of her being on other shows. But she was in my live chat the night that I did the day after she was on the T-Rev show. And it just started. We got off on the wrong foot out the gate because I was talking to you that night. You were on that show that night. I thought I was being trolled.
Right.
100% thought I was being trolled. So I actually was coming at her with pretty, I was like being like, what the hell's going on here? Because she's saying in the chat, message Daniel, and I was like, I did. What do you think he's going to tell me? And then I guess she literally actually called you in real time. And then you're like, you're in my chat. You're saying check Twitter, and yeah. The actual story, though, I think we're cool now. When she was actually on Dago's, which I would say go check out that interview. I thought that was awesome that day. Jules, True Crime, and Sleuthy jumped on there, and they were basically just like, and Dago, they all did like a panel show with her. It was actually really fucking awesome. But that day, I actually was in the chat, and I was like, I don't think Kim likes me because of the T-Rev episode, because it was a crazy episode. It really was. And the chat was already insane. There was people from all sides. There were people attacking her. It was crazy. It was a wild ass chat. But that day in Dago, I even said, I was like, I don't think she really likes me. And she even said literally on Dago, she's like, you're cool. It was just, and basically admitting what was going on in the episode with T-Rev that day. The first episode, when it got really heated, there was the dude from Louisiana that was really hot, and it got pretty gross at times. But the actual Kim story, man, like the only thing, and I think this maybe pissed her off to begin with, because I mean, I named this as soon as I opened that show, and I told you, and I told her, and I've said it again. It messed with me. The only thing that really messes with me is the part, because she does slip up. We've all heard her slip up. I would hate to be one of her kids, man. I like that would be scary as fuck to be in that area. So that's my only real part, that she keeps coming in and putting her people at risk is my real point there. But I mean,
I will say about the kids though, and thank you guys so much for your donations. We appreciate that. Is none of them live in that area anymore?
Right. She has said they're gone now. Right.
Yeah, they are gone.
One
so
walked,
I think
right?
that's why she's. One transferred and one ended up graduating already.
But the actual stories that she's telling, I mean, it's just like we've talked before. She's getting it from a third party, essentially, third down the line, basically. Whoever told her kids told her. So, I mean, there's a lot that we can't, that's literally not verifiable on that side of it. So, I don't know, man. I'm basically, you guys are kind of in the middle with it. I think she's, honestly, we've kind of come to terms where I think she's a decent lady. I never hated the lady at all. But I think we got off on the wrong foot, honestly. But I think we're good now. Just from all, it just got fucking crazy, dude. But yeah, I'm neutral on the whole thing. And I mean, hell, I like to hear her talk. Can't lie about that.
What about you, Dan? Have you had it? What are your thoughts on Kim? I know you haven't you weren't a part of that show where I called in or anything, but I know you've probably were listening in and have listened.
Yes.
Before.
So I haven't actually talked to her or anything like that, even through chat or anything. But I've heard her stories, and I kind of think it's more like how things get spread in these towns. If something big like this happens, rumors get spread around. It's kind of like a game of telephone, right? Right. Stories get inflated, they change. She's hearing versions of those stories, things like that. So I don't necessarily know if I think she believes the stories because she lives in the town. She's in the area, but I don't necessarily know if the stories are true. I mean, a lot of people probably believe those stories. People have probably heard the same stories that she's hearing.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's like I said. I think stories get inflated. And one thing that concerns me about her is I don't like. For example, she was on the T-Rev show and she felt like she was attacked there, and she goes right back on the next day. I don't really understand that behavior either.
Yeah, I'll say that there is some of that does go on, and
she's getting her story out there. That's for sure. She's everywhere.
That's her ultimate point, though, right? That's where she comes back. And dude, actually, I showed it on one of my last. It was you guys just interviewed her, and I did the immediate reaction after. She before that left a big comment on one of my community posts, and basically was just breaking down that she will continue to do this until she feels like she's being heard, like until she's going to keep stay on top of this until she believes that people are actually listening to her. It's basically the side of what she's saying, it seems.
She should feel that way because she has the most popular videos and streams in this true crime community that we're all a part of. So
the only thing that I found a little bit weird, I'm sorry to cut you off, Daniel, because I knew you were going to
say I was done. You're good.
The only thing that I thought was a little strange about it was I've listened to some of her stories, and it's almost like she reads the PCA like line for line, like it keeps going through it. I'm kind of like, all right, well, if you have this story that doesn't line up, why is it always like it starts with like the PCA and then these details kind of get filled in between it? So
So,
I mean, I don't know. Like, I could read a PCA and fill details in the middle of it too. So, I don't know.
right? No, and I completely understand that. The issue is when did she become, informed with these details? Now, I've seen her phone records, and I've seen. And before we go there, thank you, Tsunami. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah,
999. This
great
is the
guy.
dream team, and the lab. We got to get the lab on for the next one. He's also another.
I've not
dream
met the
gentleman.
lab, but I've watched a few of his things. He
Never
seems like
met the lab.
he's got a cool look. I like the way his setup is.
Yes. And so, when it comes to that, I've seen her phone records, and I've seen where she has called the Moscow Police Department, where she's contacted Lanier, who is one of the officers, and his phone number is in her phone records, and the FBI, and all of these things were done by, I want to say, the 27th of November. They weren't, right then and there. It took her some time to get through her, get through, I guess, through her daughter and through to her daughter. Now, I had an interview, and we're going to go through that interview today, and I'm going to do another video and have that video out tomorrow. Kind of everything in chronological order and stuff like that. But I did have an interview with a guy that I'm going to name, I'm going to call him Dave. That is not his real name. He wants to remain anonymous at this time. He is more than happy for QB, thank you. He's more than happy to come on a live if we can figure out a way to disguise his voice and things of that nature. I have that interview recorded.
Yeah.
After this show, if you guys, and I have his blessing to talk to other true crime channels and stuff, I'll send you guys that recording, but I have to have y'all's word that you guys will not disclose any of that, because there is he can get in some trouble with the wrong people.
Yep.
100%, absolutely.
Okay, and so that way you guys can also, understand who he is and what his story is, and you guys can go on your own channels and talk about Dave, and about how credible you found that interview that I had with him or not. Now, Dave came to me after that interview with Kim, and in fact, that night he came up and he stated basically, I am a U of I fraternity student and I want to talk. Now, who Dave is he is a person that runs or is in the somewhat of the inner circle of Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robinson. Those two guys are the guys, or guy and gal, are the folks that just got arrested in the death of, what's the boy's name? Caden Young, who passed away. He was a University of Idaho student who passed away in Washington, a couple of hours away in Centralia, Washington, from an overdose, right? And are you guys familiar with that case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So first thing that I wanted to do when I started talking to Dave was ask him more or less, what do you know? What's going on? And, the first thing that he comes up with is stating that he was aware of the incident as early as 9:30 that morning, that on his Snapchat and his group chat that he has with other fraternity brothers and other sororities, that information was coming out of the Pi Phis about the incident, and that those sorority were sending out information that there was a stabbing. And he said it was a stabbing. It wasn't anything else. He stated that about an hour or two later that the story had changed, that it was a possible OD. Now, he wasn't aware of what was going on. He was getting this, secondhand from other people as well, but this was prior to the 911 call. And he thought that was possible because in this town, in the town of Pullman and in the town of Moscow, drugs are pretty heavy. He states that that you can get those things very easily. And that, unfortunately, some people had passed away because fentanyl was becoming an issue out there. And so he stated that he took that for its word. And then when the vandal alert came out, and then they found out from the news media that it ended up being a stabbing to begin with, he just had more questions than answers. And so when it comes to Kim, she stated that sorority was contacted initially, and that those calls were starting to go out around 8:30. He is aware of the situation, and he had knowledge of it as early as 9:30. So I think that brings a little bit of validation to some of the information that Kim has to say, just to start off. And I'll go one at a time with you guys. What do you think about that information, that it is possible, or this guy has firsthand knowledge because he was one of the persons that was told at 9:30 that there was an incident that occurred involving some Pi-Fis. I'm not entirely sure if he knew exactly who was involved, but he was aware of a stabbing with multiple people that had lost their lives. We'll start off with you, Jaime. I know Jaime has seen the interview. He's watched it a couple of times. Did you find Dave credible before we start off with that? What did you think about Dave's our interview?
Look, I saw the first 10 minutes, man. That's when I sent you a message like, dude, for those first 10 minutes, I told you, like, dude, I knew he was legit. You can tell right away, like just the way the details and, his emotions, like, they were kind of all over, a little bit all over the place. He, after losing a friend and whatnot, but like from the whole interview, I thought it was real. He's credible to me, especially, he said some other stuff that we'll probably talk about right now that really validated a lot of things.
Yeah, 100%. Brian, we'll start off with you. What do you think about, him finding out at 9:30 in the morning about this situation? Does this bring up more questions than anything else?
I'd have to, for myself, I'd have to probably see the interview and hear a little bit more before I made like a judgment, because I haven't, I haven't seen what he has to say and base off that. But it could be a possibility. Kids talk, shit gets out. Telephone, the quick, I know I work with a lot of young, I call them kids, but 20-year-olds. So I'm not trying to like offend anybody because I'm much older, but kids are quick to grab their phone, start sending out information. It could be possible. But definitely something that I would have to hear or see to make like a firm judgment if it's credible or not.
Right. Well, I'm not asking so much if you find it credible, but
Sure.
What are your thoughts on if it's true that this 9:30 thing happened? Does that jive with what you think that the the probable cause affidavit is putting out? Do you think that they would have put out information like that how early students were aware, or do you think that's something they may want to not disclose because it could hurt the case?
It could be something they don't want to disclose. It could be something that happened. It couldn't be something that happened. So I don't know. This, like I said, this case is wrapped in mystery. It would have to be something that I would have to explore a little bit more.
I keep wondering how much we don't know, honestly. Like, once this thing starts actually, who God knows how long it'll be. If we get to a trial, once we actually start seeing a little bit more come out, that'll be crazy. But to what you're asking, Daniel, man, that it's interesting because of all of the. Again, I've went down all these fucking conspiracy roads again and again and again in this, and I've hit this sorority stuff numerous times. I've looked into some of this Emma Bailey stuff. I've never actually covered it on my channel. I've touched on it very loosely, but I think it's interesting because there is a lot of drugs in that area just from people talking. Again, I can't wait to actually hear it and be able to and get a vibe of it. Like Jaime saying, a lot of you can get a lot from someone's like inflection on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like going through all this stuff again and again, dude, the sorority stuff, the weird stuff with DM on that side of it, dude, I am open to any of that, honestly. But at the end of the day, once we actually start moving down the road, and God knows how long it'll be, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that we start finding out that's going to start blowing our minds. Because dude, I'm actually way more on the side that they got the right guy than I probably was last time we talked. Like, I think. I'm still not convinced that there's no one else involved. I'm honestly not. But dude, I think that Brian Koberger's like a part of this for sure.
Right.
I think they got the right guy. I just don't know, like Steve was saying, the scale of what is involved. And I think that again, down the road, as more stuff comes out, we get to that preliminary hearing, we get to trial. I think things are going to be like people are going to be like, what the fuck?
But these two girls, man, Bethany and DM. I don't know what to think about some of this.
It's crazy.
And some of the sorority talk that comes up, man, I think that there's something there, man. Who knows, but
there's something going on.
A lot of people are talking.
Well,
and
two things can be right.
A young man there that's come out. There's something to that, man.
Two things can be right at the same time, though, y'all. I do want to emphasize this. Two things can be right at the same time. You can't have a situation where there may be drugs involved in a certain aspect of a person's life, and somebody take their lives and it had nothing to do with those drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, there could be a situation where the people in this house that, you know, end up having their lives taken, these victims, may have been involved in certain things that had nothing to do with why their lives were taken. But, you know, it is something that you got to have, you know, to look at. Dan, what are your thoughts so far?
I think, well, since like Stevie mentioned, we've been through the sorority thing before where they have these rules. And we've talked about how, you know, there's a rule where if the, you know, before you call police, basically in any circumstances, the way it reads is you call your sorority mother first, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's very likely that that word of this crime was spread around other students before it ever got to the police. And, you know, they're probably are trying to get rid of drugs because they're worried about that kind of thing. If it's in the house.
Yeah, and it's probably a stupid thing, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
people are actually dead, but in their heads as a young person, you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, Dan.
It makes sense to me that, yeah, you know, the actual students and community know before the police, because they're kind of holding it tight to their chest. And then it kind of explains that long gap before the 911 call. You know, they're calling their sorority sisters or their sorority mother or whatever you call it. And
Yeah,
words
I wanna
kind of
bring up
getting
one
spread
thing.
around like that.
And I'm not bringing Ian Harshen into this as like saying that he's a part of it, but what I am going to bring up, when I read the thing on Reddit when he did like the AMA thing, did you guys remember that? He
Yeah.
came on and just, I don't know if you guys have read it. I did it actually on an episode. One part in that, and this is really just touching on the college student mentality. He was, you know, admittedly doing heroin and all kinds of other drugs. He OD'd with another girl. That girl was straight up ODing. He, in his own words, basically at that moment, he had a ton of drugs. Instead of calling anybody while this girl is dying in the floor, he runs downstairs, runs outside with his drugs. Literally, the first person he sees that he knows, hey, can you take this? Runs back upstairs, and then the chick had a roommate, and then she's like, what the hell's going on? And she's the one that even calls. Like,
Yeah.
He's worried about his own. I mean, that's just young people, and it's shitty to say, but it is a lot of times.
Right. Now, the next part that I'm about to say might upset some people. And I just want to make sure that, like I mentioned before, nobody deserves to pass away, even if you were doing something that may have been inappropriate or wrong. But according to Dave, Xana was his coke dealer. He bought coke from her. Now, she sold to his fraternity at one point. Now, he knew that this was something that had occurred last year. He said that he had stopped buying from her and was buying more from Emma Bailey at the time, you know, more recently. So Dave is a guy that does participate in some of those things, maybe not to the extent that other people there were. He had quit and he's been clean for a while. And so he is also close friends with Caden Young. And this is kind of why he wanted to talk, because at the end of the day, he was talking about how there is a big drug problem in this area. And that there are a lot of people that you would not assume to be involved in drugs that were. And, you know, a lot of us look at these people, we look at their Instagram, we look at their Facebook pictures, we see happy, healthy people. And it's hard to fathom that they could be involved in something. And that's not necessarily the truth. You know, we don't know what's behind certain people's, you know, background and things of that nature. He said that that Xana would sell cocaine to his fraternity brothers, and that they all kind of, you know, they would party, and that she used to live in a blue house. I'm not familiar with what blue house he's talking about, but that at that blue house, he mentioned there was two type of party houses. There's one where you'd go sing, dance, drink, and one where it'd be completely normal for a few mirrors to be out and lines to be out there and people act like it's 100% normal. And that at Xana's house, that was one of those places. He did mention that Xana and Emma Bailey were somewhat close and that they were, you know, somewhat connected. And so that doesn't mean that she was a target in anything. That doesn't mean that that's the reason why their lives were taken that night. You know, he wasn't even aware of her doing it anymore. He had stopped buying from her. It had been a while. And in recently, since I believe he mentioned spring break of last year, which was in 2022, he had started purchasing from Emma Bailey. And so it's quite possible that Xana was no longer doing it anymore. but it is important for that information to come out, in my opinion. I thought that was, when he told me that, I was pretty shook about that. I was like, wow, you know, it's pretty damning information. And, you know, like I said, that's no reason for anybody's life to be taken. None whatsoever. And so this is what he has said, and he has said that he has personally purchased from her, and so have his friends.
So, do you lean towards that the crime could have potentially been drug related?
No.
Okay.
But I do think that it is that information is going to come out. Now, here's the reason why I don't think it was drug related. This person, Dave, is familiar with the 3 boys that got pulled over that night that got the minor in possession of alcohol. If you go back and watch it, and what he says is that the reason they walked away was they discarded something in the grass. All right, now he told me what it was. You guys will listen to it and you guys will know. But for those in the live chat, you know, Occam razor or whatever, the most logical explanation is probably right. You know, it's nothing hard, but they did discard something that was illegal in the grass. The following morning, between 9 and 9:30, one of them went back to go find it. And while they were out there, they saw somebody in the field that resembled Koberger very much. Bushy eyebrows, big nose, and high cheeks is the way he described this person. The shitty thing about this is that the police have never gone back to interview those 3 subjects after the fact, after the night that they had pulled them over, even though they were in the area just before the murders.
That is crazy. That's basically happening as the times would have been about the same time, right? Like as the actual murders,
Right.
wasn't it?
And
I mean,
go ahead, Hammer.
and it's that's really poor clemency, right? Like to Kevin's, because you gotta be asking questions to everybody else around there. But then again, it would have been real damning if they could have picked him out even before they knew who he was. You know what I mean? Like, I know they had eyes on certain people. You know what I mean? Between like within the week, right? They already had eyes on people, and if they picked them out of a lineup, so it's like, oh, I saw this guy here at this field at this certain time on this day, and it looks like that guy, and they happened to point out Brian Kohlberger, we wouldn't be talking about how, you know, solid or you know, weak the evidence is at this point.
Yeah, he's
there's so many
absolutely
missing,
right.
I'm sorry, there's so many moving pieces is the thing. Like all this, being in a college town like this, there's so many people.
Right.
Daniel,
You go so many
Tsunami has a
different
great
directions.
question. Tsunami has a great question.
What is Tsunami's question? I can't see it. Let's see.
He's asking, so the suspect didn't leave in a vehicle?
Well, he saw them when he was out there looking for the item that he threw in the ground.
You said that was the next morning, right?
It was the next morning between 9 and 9:30. And apparently Koberger's phone does ping him in the area between 9 and 9:30.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And so he said the thing that stood out to me, because I asked him, I was like, the cops never talked to them or, you know, any of those things. He's like, no. He's like, the cops never came here. And he lived in a fraternity. And I've sent you a picture, Steve, of a picture of his window and how close he was to the King Road residence. And then so he's not part of Sigma Chi. I know a lot of people are going to ask that. He's not. I asked him about a fight at Sigma Chi. And what he told me about that, I found interesting because it kind of goes back to what Kim's daughter was saying or was putting out there, and how Kim felt that she was lying to her. He said that no, that he's not a part of Sigma Chi. He wasn't allowed in, like, well, not so much allowed, but like if you didn't have the term he used 2 to 1. So I'm guessing if there wasn't 2 girls to 1 guy that was showing up at the party, they weren't letting you in. Right. And so he said that he wasn't a guy that, you know, attended their parties, but that if something like that were to happen, fraternities and sorority members are well known to put out misinformation and to downsize or even put out wrong information to make it seem unreasonable out there so that people can stop looking into those things. And so when it came to a lot of the things that maybe perhaps Kim's daughter was saying, I felt maybe perhaps that was a tactic that she was utilizing by saying there was 6 people, there was this taken, there was that taken. And that could have been just misinformation, maybe not even just from Kim's daughter, because this wasn't first class information or first person information to Kim's daughter. This came from Kim's daughter's sister, who had a boyfriend who attends the University of Idaho, who is familiar with the Pi Phis. And so there's like 4 people deep in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so with that being said, I felt that maybe perhaps somewhere along that line, maybe perhaps misinformation did come out there, and Kim's taking that part as fact. Now, it's very well possible or plausible that maybe perhaps Kim is more correct than what Dave is. Dave doesn't know who committed the crime. He's not heard of it being a situation where it was a drug thing or any of those things.
Yeah.
He has no knowledge of that. His knowledge goes to the extent of that he found out at 9:30 in the morning, and that that this was a place that people could find some drugs at, and that he was close with Emma Bailey and he was close with Demetrius. I asked him if Emma Bailey was ever a DoorDash driver, and he told me he didn't know, but he didn't think so because she would make anywhere between $500 to $1,000 a night selling drugs, and what she was pushing was cocaine, OxyContin, benzos, and that they even had a nasal spray that had cocaine in it that would shoot it up. And so
that's right. That right there is why college kids can get involved in it. You can make a little bit of extra cash.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can go out and party. I mean,
Before I have to drop off here, I'm really curious about seeing Kohberger in that field, right? That's if it's true, or seeing someone that fits that description in that field. You would assume that he wouldn't have been wearing a mask in the field the next morning. So,
right. Yeah, he didn't say he was. He said that
and he's seen Kohberger's face. Now,
right.
So,
he said that he thought he saw Kohberger.
So he believes it was Kohberger.
Yeah, he said that what he said was he saw this guy that had a stare, and that he got an uncomfortable feeling about the guy. That bushy eyebrows, high cheekbones, and a big nose.
Did he mention his attire?
Yeah. He said that he was wearing darker clothing. I don't think it would have been the same clothing that he would have been wearing during the commission of the crime. Kohberger was arrested wearing darker clothing, so it might be just something that he wears. But he did mention that he was wearing darker clothing. I think maybe even a hoodie, and that he was slouched down and kind of hiding while he was looking around. And go ahead.
On the interview when you sent it to me and I saw it. One thing that I took from him was that he didn't have an opinion on certain things. He's like, I don't want to opinion, have my opinion on that because I don't know anything about it. So it makes me believe that whatever he's telling us is he knows.
So he had a moment like after the arrest and the pictures were going crazy where he was just like, that was the guy I saw in the field. Like it just hit him, that type of deal.
According to him, so he wasn't. So Dave isn't.
He didn't know Kohberger then,
right? He didn't know who Kohberger was. He was given that information prior to that, and then afterwards, once Kohberger was arrested, that guy had told him, "I think that was him."
Gotcha.
And the crazy thing about it is, it'd been some time. It'd been about 8 weeks since then, and he's like, he did say, the guy said, I was really drunk and on something else. And so, he may not have known. He's like, I wasn't looking for somebody like that at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a guy, but he said that he got a really cold feeling about the guy, and that he had a cold stare, bushy eyebrows, a big nose, and high cheekbones.
And what's the proximity of this field to the 1122 King Road?
You can see it.
Yeah, it's
from the house.
It's that body cam footage when it's the bushy eyebrow guy. One of those kids has the bushiest eyebrows I've ever seen in my fucking life. That's in that field of that footage. Like literally, I always bring it up. I'm like, this dude right here. The eyebrows are insane on one of those cats.
So so this is the field. This is where the residence is. So if I were to put myself right here, let's put myself right here, just south of the field. That's the field right here. There's Sigma Chi.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And then there's the houses back there.
Yeah.
So apparently he was somewhere around here in the grassy area.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, because this guy, he was walking in the grassy area.
They're right there in the field right now. There he is.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he was walking in here looking for, looking for the item that he discarded.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, where do you think he was coming from? Like the three guys. And he's like, I don't remember. But if I had to guess, because he didn't even ask him like, hey, where you're coming from, it would have been one of these apartments or one of the houses back here that's affiliated with his fraternity that is in this area. Is not Sigma Chi, but you can see the victim's house from his bedroom. That's how close this guy lives.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to show you guys.
I wonder what he could have been doing in that field. Was he taking like an indiscreet path, like he parked somewhere far away and he was just kind of scoping it out, or did he ditch something in that field and he was going back for it?
Right.
Coburger, I mean, not the
you're talking about. They wondered that too.
We're just trying to watch the area, right? Seeing when the shit's gonna start
from a distance.
Yeah,
right.
The cops gonna start rolling out.
He mentioned that there was apparently a guy, and here's the one thing about it that's kind of weird. There was a guy in a TikTok video that was it was on Fox News. They had a video and they were talking about a vehicle that was passing by up top. And there was a guy walking all in dark, and he's like, it could have been that guy. And this is coming from from the person that saw him. But it's, you see just a dark figure walking in the opposite direction. Now, that would not have been Koberger, because Koberger was out of there by 9:30. And according to the PCA, if it's true, he didn't go back. And Fox News didn't get word about it until 2 p.m. or something like that. They weren't out there until 2. And so that's not Koberger. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the person he saw wasn't Koberger, was Koberger, or was the same guy that Fox News picked up on. They could have been completely two different guys. And that's one thing that I explained to him. I was like, you might be looking for something there when you're going through things, once you remember seeing something and trying to connect dots. So
yep. I find it super interesting though.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half long interview. His service isn't great. He jumps in and out sometimes, but just bear with it, and you'll get all the information from there.
Real one quick, thing that I gotta hop off. Thanks you guys for having me. I don't know if I'll be back before you shut the show down, but if you're still on, I'll try to hop back in. Okay.
Be safe, Dan.
All right, thank you guys as always.
All right.
And so, I asked him, did the police ever canvass that area? Did they ever come knocking on your door, ask you if you'd seen a white Elantra in the area, ask you if you'd seen anybody or any figures? He said no. Police never did any of those things. And I found that to be super disappointing in the police department. Like, even the fact that the 3 students that got caught with alcohol that night, that they stopped, they themselves were never interviewed again.
That is crazy, man.
That was the last time that they saw or spoke to police. Police had their information. These guys went back home and supposedly went out and continued to drink or something like that for a little bit longer. And he's like, man, what if they would have gone back and seen or heard something, and they're just scared and the cops don't want to talk to them, or haven't even, pressured them into a conversation. And so I found that to be super, super disappointing in the police department there. And, he says that they had seen them around. They'd seen officers and Idaho State Police around and feds, but nobody ever talked to them. Nobody ever came up. Nobody ever did any of those things. Now, one thing that he did mention that I do want to bring up, because this is my own connection. I want to put that out there right away. This is my own connection. He had mentioned that Emma Bailey was the type of person that wouldn't go places without having the intent to distribute or sell, that she was a hustler and a business mindset when it came to those things. She used to frequent the 1122 residence. That was one of the places that she'd go. She'd go to their parties. She also would go and sell at bars. Now, one thing that Kim had mentioned was that Adam knew something about what was going on with the drugs or whatever. And that was what that whole, Adam, I told Adam everything.
Yeah.
I asked Dave if the Corner Club was one of the places that she would go, and he wasn't aware. He said that he would go to other bars. He wasn't a person that went to that bar, so he didn't know.
That was going to be my question, if that was where he was going.
Right. And he went to other places. I don't want to say those places because it might give away who he is.
Yeah.
And so he would go other places, and that when there would be times when he'd be hanging out with Emma and they'd be at a party or whatever in a group, that she'd say, "Hey, let's go to the bars. I got 2 or 3 people waiting on me." So she was always traveling to these places. So I wondered, would it be possible if maybe Adam was aware that there was selling going on, maybe taking a cut for allowing it to happen in the bar that he was bartending, and maybe perhaps there was something to what Kim was saying when it came to that. He didn't know anything about that. That was just me saying that. Thank you, Iron Range Rube, your $20 super chat. This is such a great panel, and just sub to the other 2 channels. Cheers, fellas. Cheers.
Thank you, brother.
So much. We appreciate you.
Sister.
And so, whoa, I'm hitting buttons I shouldn't. There it is. Thank you so much. And so, what he mentioned too, and this is going to go a little bit, a lot of people are going to maybe be skeptical about this, was that when it came to Demetrius, what he was doing was he was a promoter, apparently, I guess, in Seattle. And what he was doing was he would go to Seattle, pick up and sell in the clubs that he was promoting over there, and then come back to the Pullman, Washington area and do the same. That he was promoting and picking up a larger quantity when Caden Young was out there and got mixed up into it, right? According to Dave, Demetrius was very well connected in this. He was picking up large quantities and selling large quantities. And so that connection went to as far as the cartels. Now, he wasn't aware of Emma or anybody else connected with them, but that when they arrested him, there was the DEA force, and there was a task force on fentanyl that were looking into him, and the fentanyl is coming from the cartels, obviously. So he did make that connection there, but that connection goes only to as far as Demetrius Robinson, doesn't go past him to his knowledge. And so apparently, like I said, they were going up there to go pick up a larger quantity, bring it back, and Caden Young ended up passing away. Apparently also, I mean, I don't know the details of Caden Young. I know just basically what he told me. He said that somebody picked him up from the hospital and brought him back or something like that, and then he ended up passing away.
Yeah, he had a hard time telling us or telling you in the interview. Yeah,
he's somewhat close with Caden Young, and kind of the reason why he wanted to come out.
I think that's what would be scary about being a college kid today is like, I mean, I went to college and then I totally experimented with random drugs, but dude, today, man, like I wouldn't. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
I'm a 36-year-old man, and I mean, I wouldn't do that to, have a regular life and a regular job, but like today, dude, it would be, all I think about as a middle-aged man is the fentanyl that's in this stuff. Like, but these kids are thinking, I just want to have a good time, and this shit's happening all the time, man. It's sad. Like,
it's not weed anymore. It's not like you take a little acid now and then. It's like it's fentanyl.
It's
like that's the scariest fucking thing. I had a friend of mine that owns a club, and this just happened like a couple of months ago. His security guard ended up touching money, like just money that had fentanyl on it. He left to drive home, and he passed out and literally flipped his car. And it was because the fentanyl on the money got into his system.
That's so scary.
Thankfully, he's all right. Like he was all right, but
that could happen at a Walmart, or a convenience store. Like, that's so scary, man.
Yeah,
it freaks me the fuck out.
Right here where I live, catty corner from where I live, 4 people overdosed, and 3 out of the 4 passed away.
Yeah,
literally across the street from where I live.
That's a huge problem today, man.
Yeah, it's not like back in the day or even now. Like, it's, even where I live, there was I believe something in a THC pen that ended up taking the life of a high school student.
Because you don't think that's gonna, you're looking for a head change, right? You're not even looking to get that crazy, and something's laced with it, man. That's so scary.
Yeah, 100%. And so, he mentioned that. I asked him straight up. I was like, "Do you think Demetrius," or he called him D and M. Apparently that was their nicknames. Emma Bailey went by M and Demetrius went by D. I asked him if he thought that D would be the kind of guy that would commit this kind of crime. He's like, well, he had heard that Demetrius or D and Emma had a off and on relationship, and that he had put his hands on her at a couple of points in their relationship, and he's been aware that he has a pretty heavy rap sheet. He wasn't aware to the extent. I know that at one point, Demetrius went to prison for like 15 months for attempting to drown a guy. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I'd asked him, I was like, do you think that he would have committed this type of crime? And he's like, man, every time I hung out or saw him, he was like an exuberant, flashy kind of guy, wore a lot of chains, a lot of rings and things of that nature. He's like, I didn't see him getting his hand, dirty that way. Now, he's like, he was the kind of guy that if he had that sort of problem, he probably called one of his posse up to solve it for him.
Right.
And so I did ask him, I was like, how do you think Demetrius would have acted if somebody messed with his money? And he's like, he would have gone very overprotective over that. But he was not aware at all, 100%, whether or not if he was involved in it to that extent. The only thing that he knew was that he was pushing drugs that ended up taking the life of his friend because it was laced with something bad.
Well, have you seen the social media of Emma Bailey? Like the Twitter specifically is the one I've seen.
I haven't. What is it?
It's just I'd have to find it, but it's just them partying. It's just them, like, I guess that's what they did, right? They just went to different clubs and like they were showrunners or whatever. I don't know what the actual terminology would be. Put on shows or put on parties even. I think they were party makers.
Right.
So that really does I'm not going to sit here and say the guy was violent without knowing anything, but that would go along with the drug play, I would think. Like,
wasn't D like promoter or something?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are called like promoters, aren't they? Like they put shows together and stuff.
Yeah.
Party together. Yeah. Club promoters.
Yeah. I'm seeing if I can find that.
And he didn't have like
Twitter.
much of a following, especially to be, because the way Dave described him was that, he wore nice ass clothes down to his shoes, designer, everything.
Yeah, the videos I've seen, dude, he looks. They're both dressed to the nines, like in everything they did.
Yeah, and so
another thing that he mentioned also, Daniel, was that like the rules and regulations of the certain fraternities and sororities, and it painted a bigger picture. And now I see why there wasn't the information. They didn't give information to cops and whatnot.
Right.
They didn't come forward as fast as they you think they would come out.
Yeah, I asked. I've been texting Dave back and forth. I asked him here recently, when you go buy narcotics or whatever you were buying, what was the common method of payment? And he stated that most of it was cash. Some would use Venmo, and so there should be some kind of trail of that. I don't know. He said if you see anything on Venmo that had anything to do with skiing, it was referencing cocaine, whether it was hitting the slopes or using a skiing emoji, things of that nature. And so,
all right, yeah, I found dude's stuff. His name was Mr. Proper Motivation on Twitter.
Yes, yeah, that was his. Yeah, I've seen him on Twitter. Yeah,
let me see if I can find. Maybe she was just on his then. Maybe I'm mixing it up because she was like dancing and shit on here. Right. But yeah, and so they had that vibe.
Now, just because there's a connection there of Emma Bailey and Xana Kernodle doesn't necessarily mean that it was continually going on and that was the reason behind what had occurred.
Here's hers. I'll send it to you.
But it does make me wonder, like, for instance, Kohberger, or allegedly Kohberger, made entry into this house, went to the 3rd floor, skipping Dylan's bedroom 3 different times, I believe, to go upstairs, to come back downstairs, and then to leave. Yeah, so 3 different times. It doesn't do anything to her. My assumption was because, somebody yelled or Dylan yelled is the reason why he left at a very, quickly, and maybe perhaps why he didn't do anything to her, because he probably felt that he didn't have time. If he had heard or thought that somebody had heard him committing the crime upstairs, why would he take the risk of still going out there to Xana and Ethan's room?
Yeah, man. Like, a lot of that shit doesn't make sense. Hell, in my head, like, with the whole Dylan situation is fucking confusing as shit. Like, it doesn't make sense to go by that room. I know of a lot of people have even here recently, and I talked about it, randomly on a show, but Is it a possibility that we know through DM that he went out through the sliding glass door? But is there another possible way that he could have come in a different way, even up from the top balcony, but getting up there with a ladder or something?
Well, I mean, Steve
He have
said
started up top.
Yeah, Steve said that there was, conflict on the entry point, that they weren't sure if it was the window or the sliding door. And so the window, I don't understand.
Real quick, that's the only way that would actually kind of make sense to me is if he started out top, what happened with Maddie and Kaylee, then comes down and he runs into Ethan or Zaina.
Yep.
And then comes out. Like, that makes way more sense than coming in and going up, coming back down.
But didn't Steve say that he had no reason to go up to the third floor?
Yeah. He said that he didn't need to go up there.
Yeah.
Real quick, we had a $4.99 super chat. It says, what is each panel member's belief on Kohberger's guilty or innocent? Real quick, do you think he's just yes or no, guilty or innocent? At this point, we'll start off with you, Jaime. What do you think?
50-50. I gotta say 50-50, man. It could have been a different story if the cops, questioned Dave's friends, I guess, or Dave's acquaintances or whatever. It could have been a different story. But as it sits right now, from the cops being not, taking it, as serious as it's supposed to be, by contaminating the crime scene and whatnot. I feel like there's a lot of things also in the PSA that just kind of contradicts other stories, or where his whereabouts.
Right.
It's hard to answer that just cut and dry.
Yeah.
Even though I lean towards guilty, I could have my mind changed, and I do have my mind changed, dude.
Yeah, right now I'm at 50-50, man.
Hey, I can't, even though I'm leaning towards sorry, just to jump in, but leaning towards the guilty side, like I couldn't just, dude, it's so much. And even what we're having, this conversation we're having right now is opening a whole new doors, like.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Brian? Where are you at? Where do you sit?
Sure. I mean, I follow the case evidence. I think there's a lot more evidence to come out once we start getting digital forensics of people's computers and phones, and we get cell phone data. He had multiple computers, transactions, banks transactions, everything that we haven't seen yet and comes out. I think that, like I said, I think just at the end of the day, every minds are just going to go. Psh. I mean, I follow the case evidence right now. I think that they have the right suspect, arrested in this case. And again, Brian Kohberger right now is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So we have to keep
that's the truth of it. That's the truth of it.
But I think there's more to come out. I do. I think there's more to come out.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I'll say that, with the information that's been provided, I find things to be a little bit difficult. I find it to be difficult to get the warrants that they did. Like, just because he was a criminology student and was in psychology doesn't give the police the right to violate his rights to go pull his phone records.
Yeah.
I don't think they had enough for the phone records. And so, those type of things make me question a lot of things. The DNA being a small speck, what if that doesn't end up being a situation where it's not going to come out in court? I think if those two things end up getting thrown out, you don't have probable cause for the arrest.
Exactly.
And everything that's found after those things is part of the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Yep.
And you can't utilize those things. And there could be a guy that's walking. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's innocent. That's just, technicalities at this point.
That's how it works.
I think this is going to be an extremely crazy case if it goes to trial. I think it's going to be an extremely long case. I said on my channel, everybody strap in, because I don't think this is going to happen overnight. This is going to be a lot of motions, a lot of challenge of the evidence. That's what you're seeing out of the defense right now. They're filing a shit ton of motions to slow this thing down, to get their case ready and make sure that they are ready as well. So I don't, everybody strap in. This is not going to happen in like October. It's not going to be like December. It's probably going to be sometime next year.
Right.
When it goes to trial.
No, I agree. And those things are the part that worry me about it. And like I said, that doesn't prove innocence or guilt.
Of course.
That's just the technicality aspect. Now, there's one thing that does bother me about a lot of the stuff that's coming out is we hear about blood on a pillowcase and a mattress. We don't hear blood about in his car. There's been nothing. We've seen the the results of the search warrants and certain things, you know, the test results of the blood, of the red stains, that some of it was blood. But they're not putting that out there about the car. They're not even releasing it to the defense team. I find that to be very highly suspicious. And I find that to be a situation where, you know, you're forcing the defense to now do 3 motions and a compel of court. Kind of leads me to believe that the evidence may not be as strong as they were hoping. You know, and you give this guy's background. Is it possible that he would know how to scrub away these things off of his computer tower and all those other things? It's quite possible. And so that doesn't prove innocence or guilt. I just think they have a hard time right now, proving without reasonable doubt at this point. But if, you know, they come back and they say that they had some, you know, bloody footprint in his car with amino black, and they've been able to pull up those cells and they tested it and it came back to one of the victims or a mixture of the victims.
Yeah, something like that would be nuts. Like,
but, you know, I thought that would have been information that the prosecution would have already put out there. I mean, like, what are you afraid of if your evidence is strong? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the other thing that bothers me is that I haven't seen any document, and I saw Sleuthy in the live chat, you know, welcome, but I haven't seen anything in any document that points to that other lab in Texas.
Yeah,
just the mention of it in articles, right? Like actually
right in the
news.
Yeah, and then in the most recent Airmail article, it says which lab, who owns the lab, and what equipment they use to pull it up. But that's not on any document that I have seen anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that either. Not an actual, not in an actual affidavit or anything, like anything official.
Yeah, and so I find that to be kind of crazy. Now, you know, I don't personally think that drugs may have played a role in this case. I think that drugs was a thing that the kids did and were contributing to.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a factor and motive for Brian Koberger, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why when I brought that up, I wanted to emphasize that. I was like, look, this information here that's come to me is firsthand. This is firsthand. This is a guy that claims he has purchased drugs from one of the victims.
Yeah.
So it's not coming from 2-3 sources. Or
right. That makes it a little bit crazier. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so those things I find, and like I said, I've been able to, you know, vet this person. He is a University of Idaho student and is a member of a fraternity that is out there. He did say he would be willing to come on panel one day, just not yet.
Yeah,
you know, he's been doing this step by step with me, and since
I'd be same thing with the Kib stuff. I'd be freaked the hell out, dude. I'd be like, nah, man, just chill.
Well, he wants other people to start talking too. Like he's
right. I do get that, man. I do get that, and I get that with the Pam stuff too, man. I mean, if you truly believe what this woman is saying, you know, like she does, and again, this new dude that is going to be firsthand. I mean, I do get that. I mean,
yeah. So I'm not the only one that calls her Pam.
Did I call her Pam just now?
Yeah, you just called her Pam.
What the
fuck? You see how easy that is?
Contagious.
Well, fuck! Here come the conspiracy videos from all these other fuck faces.
See, I told you,
I'm working behind the scenes with Pam.
I told you, it's easy.
I have to even talk to Kim. That's crazy. That is crazy.
It happens a lot more often than you would think.
Yeah, rubbed it off on me.
And so I know somebody in here says that they don't trust Dave, and I get that. That's why I want to send the video to these guys here. Now, he is also in contact with Lena from Truth and Transparency. And he told me that he has contacted her at the same time as he's contacted me. And I believe she's putting out a video later on tonight saying that Xana allegedly sold drugs. I think I'd seen that pop up somewhere on my phone. And so I'm probably fairly positive it's some of the same information or the same vetted person that I have. But I wanted you guys to know this story and listen to this and then watch the video of the interview. he doesn't hide his face in this video. So, and he puts out his information so that you can see that he is who he is in this video. So I'm trusting you guys not to show that to anyone.
Yeah, of
No,
course.
dude. Yeah, I would never, ever, man.
No.
But that way it's not just my word or Jaime and Blue's word who have seen this interview. It's multiple, creators that, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want the truth to be out there and justice to be served appropriately. And so, one thing, like, he's either a very good actor or he's very much emotionally tied to this situation.
Yeah, like I said earlier, man, you can tell a lot from someone's infliction, the way they're talking to you, the way they're telling a story. Like, you really can tell. I mean, of course, there's great liars. There's actors, that trick us every day. We see it, especially in this true crime community. But I still am a true believer that you can get a vibe of somebody. You can kind of tell where they're going or how they are or how they truly are. I can't wait to see it, man. I'm excited. And I mean, thanks for even thinking about Public Bloods and Opinionated Idiot, dude. Like, that's fucking awesome that you would think that highly regard that, for our opinions. Because I mean, I'm excited to hear this, and we're all so freaking deep into this Idaho stuff.
Yeah, no. When I saw that interview in its complete form and everything, and the guy, I know he's not acting. I know that his emotions are there, his details are there. And it's just he doesn't talk like me. I'm like, he never doesn't stop, man. It's just like perfect details, and he paints a real good picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, like I said, he knows a lot of the folks that are in the area. He's partied with Maddie. He knows Kaylee's family in one way or another. He's met them. He knows Xana. He knows. I don't know. I don't think he knows Ethan. I don't think he has. That wasn't anything that we talked about. But he really didn't know Kaylee very well. But he knew of her and knew her members of her family. And you guys will see that how that connection is there. And he knew, like, for instance, the 3 students that were out there in the field. I thought that was probably like the most jaw-dropping, information was that one of those guys went back to go look for the item that they discarded in the grass, and they saw somebody hunched over, kind of hiding themselves.
That is crazy.
With a cold stare that gave that guy the chills. Like, whoa, this guy looks weird.
Yeah,
that's so weird, dude. Yeah, that's the weirdest part of the whole thing. That is kind of crazy. Like, yeah, I want to hear that part.
I saw that when I was watching the interview, Danny. When he mentioned that, I saw the look. Like, I saw you move your head. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, dude. When he mentioned that, I was like, seriously? And I was like, did the cops know about this? Did they ever talk to anybody? And they're like, no, they've never talked. And, his thing is also, and you'll hear it, and it's one of the things that's concerning with Kim, is that he's like, everybody here acts like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Everybody here is going on with life, partying and doing this and that. And people are still passing. They may not be passing in the same manner.
Still happens a lot.
But they're passing.
Bodies.
Yeah, there's a lot of students that are gone.
Happens about weekly, right? I mean, it's not weekly, but it feels like it sometimes, man.
And no, Dave is not his real name. It's not his real name. I don't want to put Dave's information there. And
yeah, please do it like the old school, like silhouette, like the voice changer.
Yeah. When he does decide to come on, that I want to protect, the guy's information 100%. Because, at the end of the day, some of the things that he knows about, especially when it comes to Demetrius, is what I'm more concerned about. I really couldn't give, I don't think he gives 2 shits about what people think about him online. Yeah. It's like, this guy over here may be connected to somebody a little bit higher up in the food chain.
Still, yeah, exactly. He's still probably got connections, dude. And
right,
you got
scary, man.
You got to do it and get him on with the voice changer. Be like, I saw him coming from the field.
Yeah, dude, it's got to be that deep, like robotic voice almost, like.
Yeah. The one from what was that? The one from Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
We saw
him come from the field.
I mean, definitely. And to my knowledge, I know somebody asked if they told police anything. No, they're still part of a fraternity, and these kids don't want to get involved in police. This is the reason why they come to, people like us, that they want to get their story out there, but they're afraid.
Dude, that's another point.
They're afraid also of like the stuff that they've done.
Dude, that's another point with young people. It's a trend to not like the police, dude. Like, there's a lot of young folks that do not trust the police. I mean, a lot of folks in general, but that's a very normal thing, even trendy, if that's what you want to say now, with young folks.
Right.
Not to call the police, not to even want to deal with the police, because that's the enemy in a lot of these times. They see so much of this shit online. I mean, that's a real thing, man.
That, and I mean, a lot of these people's tuitions are paid and things of that nature, that if they get kicked out for drug use or that, I mean, they may not, they might be a good Samaritan law or whatever, that doesn't protect you from the school.
No.
And so, they don't want to get into those type of things. They don't want to get arrested themselves. This guy has mentioned that he's not buying, he's cleaned up, but at one point in his life, he bought. Yeah. Now, if, let's just say, you're privileged to some of this information because you were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Association and possession are like 9/10 of the law. Yeah. And so, just being in the wrong place in the wrong time with the wrong person, it can get you in some serious trouble too. And, even if you weren't a part or a privilege or a party to what ended up being the ultimate, worst case scenario, kids don't see it that way. A lot of people don't. I mean, how many people are going to come forward and say, "Hey, I was buying drugs over here, cops," but I know this information. It's not that common, and I can tell you, in law enforcement, witnesses and people coming forward, it's very difficult for that to happen. It's not like there's people that are just lining up at the police office, the police department door, willing to tell their side of the story or what they know about certain things. Like it's the opposite. It's freaking hard to get people to talk. Yeah. It's one of the hardest things to do because people are afraid. They're afraid of a lot of things. Yep. And it's not just, like in this situation, somebody's mentioning Brian Koberger's already locked up. What are they afraid of? Man, they're afraid of Demetrius. They're afraid of what Demetrius may know. They're afraid that this could cast them out in their own fraternity and that those people can turn on them. They're afraid of that the school can drop them before they graduate and then their hard-earned money and work has gone to nothing. There's a lot of things that there's
a lot of factors, dude. Yeah. A lot of people don't think about some of that, right? Like, especially the person in life that is saying well, he's already in jail. What do they got to worry about? Even to the Bethany Funk stuff, dude. Come on, man. Like, I can see exactly why somebody would be freaked the hell out, especially with all the other moving pieces that we keep finding out about. And just tonight with the Demetrius stuff, I mean, if this guy, knowing him in that area, even though he's in jail as well, dude, those cats are usually connected, and it makes 100% why this guy would be freaked out. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of these people that say, like the Koberger line you just said, like, they won't do any more critical thinking. They were just done there, right? Like, I like what we're doing right here, and I like to honestly have a show and be able to kind of go through this stuff because it does open all of our minds up, all of our perceptions. We all kind of get to talk about this openly, and then it'll kind of reposition in our heads, right? Like,
right. And somebody said here, Demetrius is locked up too now, though. If you think that somebody is behind bars and can't touch you, especially if they're connected,
especially if they're connected to the drug world and they're connected all over the fucking place.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of hits come from jail.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the truth of the matter of the fact. A lot of hits come from behind bars. Those decisions are made from behind bars.
Absolutely.
Something might
for years.
Yeah, something could happen to you here. You might get involved in the wrong person in the wrong clique who's connected with the wrong thing, and that got to go up their own certain chain of command. And if you think you can't get touched because somebody's in jail, you're a little bit naive there. I'm sorry.
That's a regular thing. Like,
one of the first things he's what's his name, Dave, right?
Yeah.
Said was that he needed to tell someone, right? That he needed to tell someone this information because nobody was talking about it. Like you said, that everybody just brushed it off like it was just another day. Like, you have 4 victims and nobody's talking about it. Nobody wants to say anything about it. But he said he had a real hard time, with his conscience. You know what I mean?
Right, especially after his friend died.
Yeah, so that makes it more. For me, it makes it more credible. You know what I mean? It makes him look more credible to me.
Yeah, and I mean, just seeing his reaction to things. Like I said, he's either freaking. He should be the next Tom Cruise actor. To me, I found him to be extremely credible. And I've interviewed a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to people when I know they're lying to me. I've talked to people that I know that are hiding things, and then you just got to dig a little bit deeper. And you got to ask sometimes the same questions over again in a different manner just to get the right answer. Because sometimes, one, they didn't understand the question, or two, maybe you think there's some deception there. And you go in there talking to them and you ask them certain questions, and sometimes, they'll answer the question wrong. They'll say, "Oh yeah, this person went in through the front door." You ask them like, "Yeah, so where did that guy make entries? Like the back door?" "Oh, I know you're lying." You know what I'm saying? And so, I did that a lot with Kim. I asked her a lot of the same questions over and over again to try to get her to slip. And when it comes to Kim, she's super invested and she's super emotional when it comes to this area. It doesn't mean that she wasn't told certain things. Now, how true or whatnot those things can be are up for discussion. Her information isn't firsthand like Dave's is. And so Dave doesn't know anything about if it was a drug hit or not. He does not know. He does not know how many people made entry. He doesn't know any of those things. He is only privileged to the fact that he was aware of the situation by 9:30 in the morning, and that the story had changed a couple of times. That it went from stabbing to OD, back to a stabbing, and that his buddies may have seen somebody that matched Koberger's description. Now, the guy that said he saw him did say he was still under the influence of alcohol and other things when he saw him out there in the field. So he's like, and he wasn't looking for Brian Koberger. He wasn't looking for somebody out of the ordinary. You know what I mean? He was just saw a guy that gave him that had a weird look to him, had a cold stare.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta look at Koberger. He has a freaking stare that is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It could be described as being cold. Does that make him a murderer? No.
Yeah, but I got the same vibe as soon as he was arrested. I mean, whether that was the news adding to that, kind of molding me at the time, because I was like, holy shit, they got the guy, and then you're finding all this information is something different. But yeah, dude, those eyes, I thought they were pretty chilling.
Yeah, I mean, he's got sunken eyes, and those his sunken eyes, and it's just his eyebrows. I mean, they cast a shadow over his eyes, I guess, and it just makes it appear that it's a darker, type of situation. But it's definitely, in my opinion, something that we wanted to put out. I'm going to put out a video tomorrow. I know there's like 800 of you guys in here. It's going to be the same information. It's just going to be condensed and just to the point of what Dave was telling me. I'm going to reference you guys into the tape or the video, so that way I can say, hey, these guys have seen it. Go check them out. I'm sure they're going to give their opinion on it as well. And you guys are more than welcome to talk about it. I just asked not to share any of the personal information to Dave and or the video.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, of course, man. Of course. Oh, Highness power went out.
Oh no!
Damn, that rain got him.
We have you in spirit.
We have you here, man. We have you here. Let's see. We have a new member, Cammie. Thank you so much for being a member. And A to Z. If BK is truly innocent, wouldn't you have an alibi or an explanation of his whereabouts that morning? Would he still be sitting in jail? So here's the thing: when you arrest somebody, you can't unarrest them, right? Even if you'd have to go through a magistrate in the whole 9 yards. From my understanding, is they talked to him, and he did conversate with them. And then he asked for a lawyer. So that conversation stops. So even if he does have a alibi or any of those things, he probably would still be sitting in jail. I mean, just based on the DNA that they have, I think that would be enough to hold him. I think you have enough to hold him. Will it be enough to find him guilty beyond reasonable doubt? At this point, I'm undecided. I don't even know if they have enough for the probable cause, to be honest with you. I mean, the DNA there, if that gets thrown out because of the size of it, or the fact that the Moscow lab didn't find it and it had to be transported somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you know, based on that airmail article, it was only 20 cells of something DNA. It's a small amount. And so I don't know. And the fact, you know, I'm a little bit concerned about why they're not turning over any of the evidence. You know, when it comes to a case or whatnot, when I investigated, you know, you can find out a lot by investigating the police. Where are they looking at? Where are their vehicles been seen at? You know, things like that. What are they doing? Or in law enforcement or the prosecution. And I'm a little bit concerned. Out of the stuff that's been released, it's not been much. You know, blood on his. So put it this way: blood on his mattress and blood on his pillow casing, and it was an uncased pillow, right? I think it was from a nosebleed, because if it was him coming home full blood and laying down, it wouldn't be just on the pillowcase and the pillow. It'd be on the pillow, the pillowcase. Not
It'd be
just
a lot more than these specs.
Yeah, it'd be blood on the sheets, blood on the mattress itself, blood on the carpet leading up to the bed, you know, blood on the doorknob, you know.
Yeah, they literally grabbed any red or brown stain in that place, right? Like,
yeah, and the only thing that came back was the sheets or the uncased pillowcase and the mattress cover. You know, it wasn't even the sheets; it was the mattress cover. I strongly suspect it was a nosebleed. You know, I think that he comes from an area that's probably a little bit more humid. You know, I've been to Pennsylvania before. It's a lot more humid than when I've gone to Colorado. When I go to Colorado, that's a dry area. I get nosebleeds when I go to Colorado because of how dry it is. And so I wouldn't be surprised him not accustomed to the area, the temperature, the dryness. It's his first fall in that area. He had just moved there in August. So first fall, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a nosebleed or two. You know, not finding anything in the drain. That's concerning. You know, the first thing I would have assumed he would have done is go wash himself off. You would assume that you'd find skin cells or hair or any of those things down the drain.
yeah.
It's not. And so those things concern me. You know, the one thing that I found super suspicious was the possibility that he didn't have his he didn't have a shower curtain. Like, where the hell did that go? That I found suspicious. We have Dan back in the building. How's it going, Dan?
Oh,
Yo, I'm back. Got a drink this time too.
no more drinking tonight.
Thirsty.
So I'm not sure if you were listening in while you were gone.
A little bit, yeah.
But I just, like I said, I don't think that. Right, and shower curtains are $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. Why didn't he have one on, though, if they're cheap?
One thing I saw, somebody asked the panel whether they think he's innocent or guilty, and I actually posted my thoughts in chat, but since I'm back, the actual answer is innocent, right? We don't have the evidence yet. We don't. Yeah. We need to be presented the evidence before we can make that determination. That's how I really feel about it. That's true.
That is true. And so, you know, like I said, the other stuff, you know, because these aren't the only kids that were having parties at their house that had narcotics or drugs being used or sold or whatever the case may be at their house. According to Dave, it's a pretty frequent, common thing amongst a lot of fraternities and sororities there. All right. And so, that being the case, my opinion is that I don't think that it's necessarily targeted because of that. I just think that the two things can be right at the same time. You know what I mean?
I think you're right on the money there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so,
right thought process of it for sure.
I mean, drugs are going to be they're prominent in any college town, at any college, in any sorority and fraternity. I can guarantee it all over the country. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. What do y'all guys have any other thoughts on this or on what we talked about tonight before we close it out? It's about an hour and a half in.
Oh, you turned slow-mo off. I was like, chat is going insane.
Now, I would like to plug my show for tonight. After this, we are going to be going live about 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, doing the regular publicly buzzed Friday Night Live. They've been calling this. They've been deeming the publicly buzzed Friday night shows the Feral Fridays because we get a little wild in there on that night. Yeah, I'd like to invite everybody that's in the chat over to hang out. We're going to be having a special guest on tonight, Subconscious Mouth. He's an awesome creator here on YouTube. We've had him on once before. I like the way he thinks. Daniel, I don't know if you've ever talked to him or dealt with him any. But I don't know if you checked out his videos, man. I like he thinks a little different. He's got a cool channel.
I've seen some of his stuff. I've seen him on your channel before. He's pretty good, interesting guy.
Yeah, he's going to be on there tonight, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'll drop the link here in the chat. But
go ahead.
If everybody wanted to hang out, that'd be dope as hell.
Hell yeah! What about you, Brian? Any plugs or anything before we call it a night? You're muted, bro.
Okay, that better?
Yeah, you're on.
All right, yeah. You can find me over on the Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel. I stream 4 nights a week: Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Super Saturday nights. I got a stream lined up tomorrow. We're gonna do some Idaho content over there. That's usually the big show. We take live calls on Saturdays. So yeah, come check me out. Subscribe. It's been a great time. I love jumping on the panel with you guys. And just
give me a call, Pam.
So
call me up, Pam. I can't believe I said Pam, dude.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
How did that happen?
That was hilarious, man.
That's insane.
That was hilarious.
I literally can't believe that. Like, that's blowing my mind a little bit.
Dude,
honestly, I thought you did it on purpose. And then,
dude, I didn't. Like, even when I saw Daniel's face, and I was like, "What's going on?"
I was like, I'm not the only one. It's so easy sometimes to do that, especially once you get it in your head that that's the person's like that's her name, right? Like I bring it up with a guy named Vance McDonald. He's a tight end that used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, there's a street that I used to live kind of close to called Vance Jackson. And for like 2 years, the guy's name was Vance Jackson. And so I have to think about not saying that. The same thing happens like with Kim. And a lot of it has to do with, her daughter's name also. And a lot of the information that I've had on her. And I combined them and I keep screwing up. But let me, I'm going to do this now so that you guys can see it. I'm going to send you guys the video. It's an unlinked deal, so that way you guys have it and you guys can look it over and let me know what you guys think of that conversation that I had with Dave.
You said it was like an hour and a half. Is that what you said?
Yeah, but you can probably put it on like super speed and get through it in about 45 minutes.
Nice.
We're going to have to watch that maybe tomorrow, Stevie. Watch it together.
Yeah, we should get together and watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent it
I might
to
come
you
over
too,
there.
Brian.
I might come over to your house and do it. It's Mother's Day and go see Mom. That'd be
true.
be
Yeah,
cool.
that would be perfect. Yep.
Yeah, check that out. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. And no, Pam is not Kim's sister. Well, I don't know if she has a sister. Maybe that'd be crazy if she did and her name was Pam.
Wow, yeah. What a coincidence.
I'm like, I'm actually don't know. Eric says, we ever deep dived into Delphi? I was like, we actually have. Me and the guys have. That was actually one of our first cases that we talked about. We strongly believe that Richard Allen is the guy. Are you guys familiar with Delphi?
A little bit.
A little bit. Like, I've never dove in either. I've seen a little bit here and there. I know there's a lot of creators on YouTube that dive into that one.
Yeah, that one. We did a video on the timeline based on the probable cause affidavit and what Richard Allen put himself out there at. And we find it very, very unlikely that it could have been anybody else that was on that bridge. Wow. Now, is there somebody else that could have been involved or helped out or whatever the case may be? That's quite plausible. I know that there's been a situation with a guy named Keegan Klein, who was a catfish dude, who was catfishing, one of the victims and had made a statement to somebody at one point that he was supposed to meet up with her, but she didn't show up. And so I know that was going on. A lot of people look at Ronald Logan as a possible guy, and that was the guy that owned the property where the girls' bodies were found. But that dude was like 73 years old, and it doesn't make any sense. I know there's a lot of people that say that, oh, he was just the bridge guy, that he had help, and it doesn't make sense. I'm like, in what world does a 43-year-old, or even if it's Keegan Klein, a 19-year-old, send a 73-year-old guy to do the abduction? Like,
yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
Wasn't there a weird video of like 10 seconds they found on one of the victims' phones or something?
Yeah, it was on a Snapchat where the guy tells him to go down the hill.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation.
Yeah.
But I've sent you guys the interview.
Got that.
Let me know what you guys think.
Sure.
It's like I said, it's about an hour and 24 minutes. There's sometimes he's in a bad area. The reception isn't good out there. He has Verizon. And so Kim has Verizon, and she's talked about her service not being the best out there as well. And thank you, Don, for becoming a member. We appreciate that. Next weekend or the weekend after, we plan on doing another members only live. We'll probably give away a couple of things to members like we did last time. I brought out the guitar, played a couple tunes. We'll probably do the same thing.
Shit.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested in being a member, just hit that join button. Let me see. Daniel, thoughts on why the shower curtain in his apartment? I mean, he may have taken it down and used it as a liner inside of his trunk. You know what I'm saying? Like if he, that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. You use one of those are waterproof. You put that in your vehicle, maybe in your back seat, you use that as a liner, or even in the seat where you're sitting in and driving to. That way you don't get, blood, DNA evidence everywhere. I think that might be quite a big possibility.
Very plausible. Yep.
I bet not many people thought of that one, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I had not thought of that one.
Well, I've seen a lot of people do a lot of weird shit. And so with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for joining.
Dude, thank you for having me. Having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I know Publicly Buzz is fixing to go live in the next 30 minutes. Brian, when's your next show?
Next show is tomorrow night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Check it out. Make sure you go watch these guys. Let them know that that the Drunk Turkey Show sent you. So with that,
I actually wanted
guys,
to mention real quick. It seems like our schedules don't overlap. Did you guys do that? I don't have anything to do with the scheduling on Public Buzz, but did you guys do that on purpose?
I do. I try to do it out of respect. I've talked to Daniel about it on certain nights that I was streaming before. Him and I kind of worked it out, and I just want to I don't want to stream. I want everybody to get the most coverage that we can.
Yeah,
and I've said this before. I think working together is better than working against each other. So I try to give everybody their respect and their space. So
100%, man. And I appreciate that. And we all work together, and it's all for a better cause. So with that said, guys, we're the Drunk Turkey Show, Publicly Buzz, and Opinionated Idiot channel. Peace out, man. See you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Later, guys.
So I've hit the end button, but it usually takes a while for it to work.
yeah, it does take a little bit.
This is usually the time we